This is our service learning project for Servant Leadership 285, and we're Team 6. My name is Dana Jacobson.
I am Allison Martin.
And I am Jordan Kelly. This service leadership project started as 3 individuals, 2 organizations, and 1 group collaboration that was separated by 150 miles. The responsibility of creating the collaborative service learning project seemed to be a pretty daunting task when we started this semester. Now, after we've seen some of the faces or challenges that have faced those who we've served throughout our projects, creating this leadership project has been really no more than just a mere inconvenience in comparison. The 2 projects that we decided to select from was the Salvation Army, which is very close to me in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Dana and Allison selected CFUM, which is in Des Moines, Iowa. The service leadership project at Salvation Army is one of the easiest ones that was accessible for me. And is located at 1000 C Avenue in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The location is pretty close to downtown and public transit. It's basically surrounded by a lot of middle-class homes in a very clean neighborhood. It's got additional schools, churches, and there are actually a couple other missions in the area that help to kind of support and bring up that neighborhood, and that the public transit is very, very important to getting people to the Salvation Army, because some of the homeless that visit the site may not live in that area just because of the nature of kind of the environment. So they may have to travel several miles to be able to get there either by bus or by walking. The mission of the Salvation Army, which I should probably cover, is an international movement that was part of the evangelical part of the Universal Christian Church. Their message was based on the Bible, and the ministry is motivated by the love of God. Our mission with the Salvation Army is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and meet human needs in His name without any discrimination. When I did my orientation for the project that I selected, the kitchen manager sat down with me and covered the mission in depth. Wanted to make sure that, you know, they want to love on people is the terms that he used, and just make sure that those people know that they have a safe place to come, that there's not going to be any discrimination. He told me stories of how he had the rival gangs from both sides of the city eating in his kitchen at the same time. And they just know that, hey, Tim, the manager, is just not going to prevent or to put up with any sort of ill feelings or any of that. He's makes it very known to them that, look, we're not going to have any of that here. This is a safe place. Come in, and you can resume it as soon as you walk out my doors, but don't bring it inside. The different opportunities that the Salvation had to choose from are different worship opportunities. At the 1000 C Avenue location, they actually have a church that people can go to for worship. They pair with the United States Marines for an annual Toys for Tots drive. There's different recreational things such as archery classes, basketball, things like that for other youth activities. They provide food assistance, whether it be in the food kitchen, or they also do like a canteen, which goes out and helps serve the homeless in the area. They take them hot food and beverages, especially on the cold nights. They also do kind of a spin on Meals for Wheels that help the elderly in the neighborhoods. They provide housing support, be it financial assistance or just placement assistance. They have a program called Pathway of Hope. They do some women's ministries, senior services. They do some crafting just for social aspects. And one of the major things they're known for, just like the Red Cross, is their emergency disaster services. So say your house burns down, there's a natural disaster that affects your home, or anything like that. They have mobilized vehicles with food, shelters, financial funds, and things like that to be able to help the community that way. The Salvation Army is largely driven by charitable contributions. The annual Red Kettle campaign in Cedar Rapids provides over 70% of their operating budget. So all of those programs in addition to the food kitchen that I helped assist with. So their 2016 campaign goal is $805,000. Now, as of yesterday, they had raised almost or just over 291,000 of that goal. So they're expecting that number to climb as the Christmas holiday comes in and shoppers are out at the local marts. You might see these red kettles at a Hy-Vee, Target, your local farm store, grocery stores, things like that, all just to kind of keep that in mind. You know, you wouldn't think that $1 or a few cents would go very far, but when you compound that by the amount of visitors and people coming through to these places, it really kind of brings up that overall goal. Like I mentioned a little bit ago, I chose to help them fight hunger, which was one of their big missions through there. The Salvation Army in Cedar Rapids offers free meals served Monday through Friday. They do a breakfast from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., and then they do a lunch from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. I helped with the lunch primarily, and so they wanted you to come in about a half hour early and just assist with getting the meal prepared, plated, the serving line set up, everything kind of cleaned up and ready to go for that. And then at 12 o'clock on the dot, they opened the serving line, and Tim, the kitchen manager, would go out. He would introduce himself and what we were having for or serving for lunch for the day. And then they would say a prayer together before they would go through the line. And then you'd say, you know, half hour, 45 minutes or an hour later, just to help kind of clean up the kitchen and get everything ready for the next day. One of the things that they do annually is a Thanksgiving dinner. This year they served over 400 people, which is pushing record limits for them. It's open to any of the community, regardless of whether, you know, they just want a social aspect to come in or whether or not they wanted to come in and just have a nice place for a hot meal. Some of the people that do visit the breakfasts and lunches might not seem like they would necessarily need to come in for the quote-unquote free food. But as Tim kind of puts it, they don't turn anyone away, and these people may have to choose between whether they can afford their groceries for the week or whether they can put gas in their car to go to work. So we would see people that would stop by on their lunch break that have a fairly decent job but just aren't making ends meet. Or we would see the homeless, those with substance abuse problems, things like that, that don't necessarily fit within a standard housing arrangement. So a lot of them rely on public transit. You would see at noon, which one of the bus schedules drop people off, there would be a mass of people that would come in. And then 12:30, there'd be another rush as the next bus came through. So like I said, some of them come for social issues or just wanting to visit, and others of them are kids or families or that to kind of get some assistance that way. One of the biggest things that I learned was that these people are very humble and kind, and surprisingly, they're some of the most well-mannered people. The please, the thank you for the help today, just interaction of, hey, how's your day going? All of that. You know, they might be having a really crappy day, but they're still, you know, pretty positive and upbeat because you're putting a nice hot meal into their belly. So just seeing how gracious and thankful they were for something as simple as, you know, maybe dishing up their green beans for the day or something like that was pretty huge.
So then Dana and I worked with CFUM, which stands for Children and Family Urban Movement. And here's just kind of a generalized, the picture that they use. They are located at 1548 8th Street in Des Moines, Iowa. Their mission is similar to that of the Salvation Army, but not quite the same. We tend to, or CFUM tends to cater to younger children, but the mission is as followed. They want to create a community that supports the potential of children, youth, and families through educational success, healthy living, and community engagement. A little bit about CFUM's history. In 1968, the Congregation of Trinity United Methodist Church started the Breakfast Club to serve residents of Riverbend. In 1992, CFUM was started to serve families living below the poverty line in the Riverbend community. And the overall focus was to provide access to healthy food and help with education. It is actually located in the bottom of a church, and that building is across the street from Moulton Elementary in Des Moines. So most of the kids are able to walk right across the street and attend the after-school activities. They do have several different programs. They do breakfast club in the morning to make sure that the children are getting the food that they need and the nourishment they need to start their day with school. And then after they eat, they do quite a few activities with the kids. They have kindergarten study buddies. And then they also have the Haven, which is the after-school program. It runs from 3:20 to 5 p.m. During Haven, they do have people that come in and help read with specific children. They're partnered with pretty much the same child throughout the duration of their volunteering. They also have Awesome Days, which is the summer program, and then they have Power Breakfast readers as well. The Haven is pretty much what I volunteered with. We had around 65 enrolled children. Once again, it's offered after school from 3:20 to 5 p.m. Dinner, we kind of started to make it downstairs between 5 and 5:30, and then they actually have dinner that serves the public downstairs. A lot of times when the parents come to pick up the children, they come and have dinner with the children through CFUM. They provide snacks, creative activities, hands-on learning clubs, and a lot of other structured events during Haven. They, right when they get there, they start with their snack, and then they go, and as you can see in the left picture, the library, they go to their library and they pick out a book, and they have 25 minutes of silent reading with each other. It really seems to kind of set the piece and set the tone for the rest of this day. And then on the right, there's actually a picture. One of the days that I volunteered, we had a scarf, hat, and mitten drive, and that's the table of hats. And as you can see, they're stacked in maybe 10, 12, covers the whole entire table. So they invited the children down in rotations, and if they wanted anything, they were more than welcome to take it. Some children I heard saying, well, I don't really need this, but my sister does, or my mom does. So these children are definitely aware that the cold weather is coming, and they definitely want to make sure that they're taking care of their family as well as themselves. And then the other thing I volunteered with was the Thanksgiving dinner. They note this as being the busiest and most exciting day of the year. They believe they serve around 300 people, give or take, per year. It's a family-style sit-down meal. It requires a lot of donations and volunteers. They actually have a website set up on the line that you can go on there and see exactly what they need. You can sign up to volunteer hours. You can sign up to donate food. Everything's pretty much spelled out there in a list form that you can see what's filled and what hasn't been filled.
And so I volunteered with the Breakfast Club. And like Allison said, it's in the basement of Trinity United Methodist Church. And let's see here. It's every morning before school. And from day to day, it fluctuates how many kids are there, but they serve about 80 elementary kids before school, Monday through Friday. And during the summer, they serve about 60 elementary kids schools, and or before school. And they say on their website that a hungry child does not learn. And so that's sort of their reason behind making sure that these kids have a nutritional breakfast before they go into school, just to make sure that they're ready for the day. And not only do they get breakfast at the Breakfast Club, but they get homework help if they request it. And they have reading time in the morning, about 20 minutes. And then they just get a lot of free time to play games. And sometimes they pull out colors and paper. And sometimes they have a contest to see who can make like the best CFUM poster or something. And as you can see here, they have a box of Legos. They have another box behind there. So a lot of the kids like to build houses and stuff like that, and they'll assign everyone and even the volunteers like a certain room to make. So it's just a lot of fun, and it's a fun sort of community feeling. The staff members know most all of the kids' names, and when I was first there, I guesstimated that there may have been close to 100 kids. There were a lot of kids. And the next day, there seemed to be less kids, probably somewhere more around 50. So it really did fluctuate from day to day. And the staff members seemed to know how many were coming each day because they knew how well to be staffed, how many people needed to be there. It was very well organized, and I did most of my time with the kids before and after the actual breakfast meal, helping them read or doing Legos with them. But then during breakfast, I would typically serve the food or walk around with the pitchers of milk or water or whatever beverages they had for that morning. It's very organized. The kids go through the line, they get their food, and then they go and sit at the table, and they have to raise their hand for the beverages and for the milk for their cereal, if that's what they had that morning. So I was just very impressed with how they organized that. And then these are our references for the pictures and all the information that we have in the PowerPoint. And then for my experience, I really appreciated just the humility that seemed to be in the room the whole time, because it's also not only kids who are going through the line and getting food, but there are some adults there. I didn't really get to talk to them and know their story too much, but so I didn't know if they were parents or just people from the community, from the Riverbend community. But there was just such a humbleness and such a humility about not only those adults, but some of the kids. Just like, you don't know what they've been through, and you don't know their situation in life, but it's just nice to have an open mind and just understand that everyone comes from a different background, and that may be what has made them so humble and so selfless. I don't want to say that they're resigned and that's why they're so humble, but it's just a very refreshing feeling, and like that feeling as a thinking that I should be humble so that I can serve them in a way that is humble, and then I could match their attitude. And like what was mentioned before, they are happy people. Has happened to them. Like we said, we don't know their situation, but it's just all very refreshing. And so as we put this project together, we were thinking about the core values and sort of realizing that we were thinking about the core values without actually consciously thinking about them. So those values that Mercy has, excellence, knowledge, reverence, integrity, and compassion, they're all very specific, but they touch on every aspect of life that's important into being a wholesome member of the community. And we learned about being a servant leader through this course, and that was something that we should have kept in mind, and we did keep in mind through the project as we chose our community partners and as we started our volunteering, just making sure we had those core values in the back of our mind. And so first off, with knowledge, we had to research the community partners in order to understand what their needs are and what the program requires. And so we just sort of gathered that knowledge. And then reverence, integrity, and compassion all seem to go together because they're very people-based. They're based on caring about other people and respecting other people, and realizing that we may not all have the same experience with the communities and the population from Salvation Army and from CFUM, but that's important to keep an open mind and to accept all the different people that we come across during our volunteering time, and that it's crucial to try and understand and respect where they're coming from, like I said, and everything, and that everyone deserves help and empathy. And as Lowney put it in his book, Historic Living, we need to Treat yourself with integrity, your work with excellence, and those who you meet with reverence. And so as we went further into our volunteering hours and deeper into the course material, we all realized that excellence isn't something that's exactly expected of you, but it's an expectation that you set for yourself.
And with that, this is the end of our presentation. And I again would like to thank every CFUM, the Salvation Army, Dr. Marr, everybody who set us out on this assignment. We learned a lot, and we are extremely grateful for what we did learn and the opportunity that we were giving. Thank you.